Uh, Introduce myself. My name is Ricky Thacker. I'm an Algebra 1 teacher at Betsy Lane High School. And joining the Appalachian Leadership Laboratory this summer was a blessing in disguise. Twofolds. One, this is my ninth year in education. I'm also serve as the athletic director for the high school, and I'm also the freshman department chair at Betsy Lane High School. So with encouragement from my principal, I was encouraged to start my administration classes through the University of Cumberland's, and tonight's my last class. Oh yeah, I'm ready for that. But anyway, I had to develop a capstone, which was after the Appalachian Leadership Laboratory, which I had to create a capstone with that as well. So in meeting numerous people, and I want to give a big shout out to Dr. Tom Murray. I assume he's been mentioned a lot this today. But anyway, classroom redesign was my capstone. Introduction. Dr. Tom Murray presented at Natural Bridge State Resort Park, and he talked about classrooms 100 years ago in 1915 and now in 2015. And he showed us this picture, and he said, how has classrooms changed? Well, 8 years of teaching, I was teacher-centered, desk in straight rows, and I just wanted to make sure procedures, discipline, and everything was taken care of. However, that wasn't the case. I worked really hard. I taught myself a lot of Algebra 1 in 8 years. How much did I teach the students? Come and give and go. They got some, but they didn't get the full effect. And then Dr. Murray asked, how has technology changed? Well, it has changed tremendously. Everybody is on Twitter right now. You're going to App Leader Lab. You're going to ARI. So you have the technology in your hands. Our district does one-to-one initiative where every 5th and 9th grader gets a laptop to use in the classroom and at home. So I needed to use that resource to its full capability. So I got busy because we left the Appalachian Leadership Laboratory and we had 1 week before school went in. And one other thing with the pyramid of learning, my room was teacher-centered. So most of the time, does this got a laser? No. I'm not going to use it. But anyway, teacher-centered, I lectured a lot. Standing up in front of you, I'm lecturing basically. I'm telling you, but students only retain 5% of lecturing. However, 90% of students retain information by teaching each other. So when I decided to change my classroom, which I was moving into a new classroom this past year, so I had an open canvas. Is an old computer lab. So I wanted to design my room around where students could teach each other. So the questions that I had was, how will the classroom redesign alter the educational landscape? Will physically altering the classroom increase student engagement? And positive results, content department, school, communities, how can it be a positive result for my school and my community? So those were the questions that I wanted to answer with my classroom redesign. I reviewed some literature. I will tell you there is not much literature on classroom redesign. However, there is some research on flipping classrooms, and a fellow co-worker, colleague of mine, Miss Christina Crace, has done flipped classrooms. She's presenting here in a little bit over the flipped classroom and things of that nature. But much of the research was that, and I found 2 articles, and they discussed of increased student engagement. It increases attendance, better attendance. As most people know, Betsy Lane High School, we usually range around 95-96% attendance rate. So we want to keep that up. And higher order cognitive skills and student empowerment. And Trost discussed that physical activity improves student learning and behavior. As you notice, I move a lot. I don't sit still. I don't stand. And I didn't want my students to sit still. I wanted them to move around. I wanted them to be engaged, because at a desk, if they did not understand content, they started misbehaving. They started getting the focus off of the real problem, which was their inability to discover some type of concept that I was trying to instruct. With this new design, they had somebody to the right of them, they had somebody to the left of them. They could get up or walk around and find somebody that could help them or assist. And I was their last resource because they were using each other and trying to learn from each other. And it has been a great concept so far. Methods and procedures, I used last year's freshmen as a control group, and this year 86 students were used as my initial study with the classroom redesign. Here are some pictures of my classroom. These are my participants. I used, this was my third period on the left, and on the right, that's my fifth period. I just took sample pictures. I wanted to include all of them. However, limited on PowerPoint and pictures and things of that nature. But these are my participants. Classroom structure and teaching style. The class open floor plan where students are allowed to teach others and move around freely. And I'm more of a facilitator, and students are given an abundance of educational freedom to explore and discover. So, for example, my first unit is equations. So, the previous year, I would get up and I would have a PowerPoint on equations. I'd talk about equations, yada, 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 yada. And some students would get it, some students were not. So I'd have to start reteaching and reteaching and reteaching. Now, I come in and I say, today, we're going to talk about equations. But right now, I want you to take your laptop and I want you to do some research on equations. Give you 10 minutes, go. So I just walk around, look around. Then at the end of the 10 minutes, I would come back together. I say, what did you guys discover? What did you learn? One student said, well, I've seen these absolute value equations, and what are these? Well, I wasn't going to cover that till 2 weeks later. Oh, we can discuss that now. So they were taking control of their learning style and how much content they were getting each day. And I would keep moving and moving and moving and moving. And it created a great flow. Data collection, like I said, this is only 1 year, so it's ongoing. Like I said, tonight's my last administrative class. However, I don't want to leave the classroom. I absolutely love the classroom. And I want to see this go multiple years and collect data. Our district accesses Blackboard. We purchased Blackboard. All of my assessments, all of my assignments are on Blackboard. Many people ask, well, students may not have Wi-Fi at the house. That is correct. So what they do in my room, they have a folder on their desktop and they copy all of their Blackboard files on their desktop. And they can work on Word or Excel, PowerPoint, my movie maker at home. And when they get to my class, the first thing they have is a catalyst. So we do 5 minutes catalyst, but if you get done with the catalyst early, upload your assignment, get it done. As long as you turn it in, I'm good with that, okay? So it is ongoing in Blackboard. Use Infinite Campus to check attendance, grades, discipline referrals. Last year I had 14 discipline referrals. This year, 2. And they were from upperclassmen that don't have computers. They're from my junior class. And they were out in the hallway. So, but I had to put those in. Those are the 2. And student voice survey, my student voice survey went up 18% from last year to this year. So 18% increase, and engagement went up, and it is very high. Data analysis, discipline, like I said, 800% decrease. Failing grades, 23.86% to 22.09%. Blackboard submissions. The previous year, we only done tests on Blackboard. So students that were absent missed that. Now I do everything on Blackboard. So it went from 91 to 72%. And walk through documentation from Ms. Akers, Mr. Roberts, Ms. Hall, our administrative team, and other people that walk through the building that will give me comments such as pedal and other types of visitations. Results. I had some interesting people visit me this year. There's no way to say it. It's a surreal moment for me. It's one thing as an educator that the main thing that I want to do is I want to go in a classroom and I want to be locked away 45 minutes with my students, and I want to educate young minds to be positive role models. And students, when Mr. and Mrs. Gates left, the students asked, well, what do you think about this? Well, what I told them, I said 20, 30 years down the road when I'm old and gone, probably, you never know, you guys can look at your children, grandchildren, whatever. You can pull up YouTube and you have this video. You're in that video. You're showing them what you've done in Algebra 1 class, and this was one of the first rooms that done this, that didn't have no seats whatsoever. You stood. So it was a very positive impact, and we're still reaping the rewards from each and every day. That's the video. I don't have probably time to present that, but it is on Gates Notes if you guys are interested in watching that, gatesnotes.com. Also on YouTube. Action next step. Still going to study this. I'm getting information from other teachers that are doing classroom redesign, like Miss Sanders in elementary school. I have a friend, Mr. Davis, who teaches at Campbellsville High School, teaches English. So I'm getting other classrooms because when I talk to my colleagues in the building, they want to know, how does it work for a science classroom? How does it work for an English classroom? Visual performing arts, things of that nature. What I tell every teacher is, my design may not be what's best for you. Do what is in the best interest of your students, and then always, always, always reflect. Always reflect and do what is in the best interest of your students. Flip movement-oriented and development and learning disabilities. Like I said, I have 0 chairs in my room. I first started out with theater-style seating, just chairs such as this, and I had no physical disabilities that hindered students standing. I have platforms that are raised to help with height, and I also got platforms on the floor, but I had no physical disability that hindered standing. So what I found out, I had 20 chairs in my room, but all 20 were empty. Everybody wanted to stand. So I was like, well, let's get rid of these chairs. We have more room for activities, okay? So that's what we did. Relating it to administrative, looking at your ISLIC standards, it matched Standard 1, Vision of Excellence, higher standards. Standard 2, creation and maintenance of instructional program conducive to student learning. And Standard 4, collaboration responding to the needs of students and using community resources. I wanted to tie it to our administrative standards. And also, I don't know, 20 years previous, did administrators have technology standards they had to follow? I wanted to look at the technology standards that are required now, and it met Standard 1 and 2, leadership and vision, and increased number of online activities. I wasn't just using online to say you were online to meet something. I was letting them develop PowerPoints. I was letting them make web pages. Our Unit 1 project, they had to develop a song on equations, so we used My Movie Maker. They emailed me their file. They put the file on Blackboard. We used it in our communication folders. It also matched our arts and humanities folder review. So we're meeting all those requirements that is needed, but also students are engaged. They are taking ownership of their learning, and that is very vital to our success at the high school level. Limitations, limited research. Only thing I could find was flipped classrooms. I could not find much details on classroom redesign. 1 year. And like I said earlier, there's only 86 students in my freshman academy that I see. There's 25 freshmen that passed Algebra 1, got Algebra 1 certification in 8th grade. So in 9th grade, they're in geometry instead of Algebra 1. So I have 86 freshman students. Conclusion, 2015-16 versus 2014-15. Much more attention, much more student-centered, less work from me. I know that sounds crazy, but this year, it's been the greatest year of my life as education, but I don't think I've done anything spectacular besides the fact that I'm letting students be students. I'm letting students have control of their education. Yes, I'm following the I can statements. Yes, I'm following the curriculum map. But they are navigating ways to express their knowledge. They're turning in PowerPoints. They're talking to me using auditory learning. Kinesthetic, they're moving around. They're demonstrating. I got my floor has a coordinate plane. So if I have a question, graph y equals 1/3 x plus 4. I know all of you guys are math people. I can see it in your eyes. To a student say, hey, you, come down here. You stand at this point, you stand at this point. Hey, I'm going to lay here, Mr. Thacker. I want to draw a line. Hey, do I get credit for this? Hey, you showed me how to do it. Yes, you get credit. You demonstrated that. So that's what I want to do. Behavior and engagement. My professional learning plan this year through TPGS was I was worried about procedures. Administrator's going to come in the room. There's going to be maybe a student sitting at my desk. There's students sitting in the floor. There's students standing. What are they going to think? I was worried about that. But if an administrator or anybody walks into my room and they listen to my students talk, they're talking about math. They are helping each other. They're becoming college and career ready by exploring concepts on their own. They're given independence. And sometimes I find when they move from middle school to high school, they don't want independence. They want you to hold their hand. And I don't want to throw them off a cliff, but I want to hang them out there a little bit, let them experience the thrill. So I have had no behavior incidents with my freshmen. And like I said, the 2 juniors, I still talk to them today out in the hallway. I can't believe it. I need more research. Got to get more research. I've got to find more rooms like this. I've got to find classroom redesigns. I want to think outside the box. So I need to do more research, and I still need to increase student voice results. I'm 14% higher, but I want to go higher than that. So that's my conclusion. I hope I didn't bore you guys too much. Thank you, guys. Any questions, comments, concerns, beliefs? Nothing? Awesome.